Hey, everybody. Well, welcome again to another Changing Lives webcast. My name is Don Clayton, and I'm the Chief Talent Officer here at FranServe. I have with me today Josh Dubois with JD Strategic down in Miami, Florida. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having me, Don. I'm super excited. It's always a pleasure to talk franchising.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, you're very popular on social media. I have the privilege of seeing a lot of your podcast and a lot of your material on social media, and I absolutely think it's an invaluable tool for so many people to learn. And on this particular webcast, what I like to do is to get some ideas and get comments from current franchise consultants at FranServe, and
Mhm.
you recently put up a post on LinkedIn, and it was talking about how you run across people who want semi-absentee, semi-active type of opportunities. But one of the
Mhm.
things that really struck my attention was that you said this is something that some people get a little bit confused, whereas instead of focusing on that, they really should be focusing on other elements or other ingredients to what makes a successful franchise. And you first talked about leadership. Tell us a little bit about why you believe leadership is key when it comes to the success of a franchise.
Yeah, so I think specifically over the last year, Don, it seems like this word semi-absentee, semi-active has been thrown out there a lot. So can fast track that and just dive into kind of the leadership aspect. I think when you're looking for, a lot of people when they look at a business, they're fantasizing a lot about the lifestyle aspect of the business, which kind of relates to this idea of semi-active, where, you're working a full-time job, that's a 40-hour a week position. The idea of semi-active is, cut that in half. Now you're working, 10, 20 hours a week. So the idea of semi-active is that you make this investment, you're working a corporate position, you're working 40, 60-hour a week. You make this investment and now you're living this semi-active lifestyle of only working 10 to 20 hours a week. But Don, as we know as business owners, the word semi-active is a little bit of an insult to people that really run a business. There's no semi involved in the word business ownership, in my opinion. It really is like a 24/7 full-time position. And that does not mean that you are working 40, 60 hours a week. It is possible to live that semi-absentee lifestyle. My family, we run 4 franchise locations in East Boston, and we live down in South Florida. So we have accomplished that semi-active lifestyle. But for me, why it's a little bit of a concern when I'm talking with candidates, because it's not just this, you make an investment and now you're exchanging your 40, 60-hour lifestyle to now you're working 10 to 20 hours. There's a couple ingredients that kind of go into this idea of accomplishing this semi-active lifestyle. And Don, as you first brought up the idea of leadership, I think that's first and foremost, because if you want a business that's going to run without you, you need to be a leader. You need to be someone that people want to work for. And I think especially nowadays, people are always complaining, I don't like my boss. I don't want to work for him. I want to go somewhere else. But I think as a business owner, you need to really look in the mirror and say, would I want to work for myself? So that comes down to your leadership ability. Can you motivate people? Can you manage a team? All those little skills. It's not just like you're going to invest in a business and you're going to find so many employees that want to work with you and, it's off to the races. It's really a roller coaster, and it comes down to over the couple of years building these leadership skills so that people want to work with you. You can manage a team, and then you can travel to another state and not have to worry about, will my business even open today, for example.
If you're not necessarily working in the business physically, then you're always going to be thinking about it mentally. And so that's where the hours kind of accumulate from that mental standpoint. But you said it perfectly. Without proper leadership in
Mm,
place, there cannot be a workable model to support a productive system. So tell
mm.
us a little bit about the systems and why systems are important for a franchise to be successful.
Yeah, definitely, Don. And I think system is kind of like the magic word in franchising. That's really what franchises are about. It starts off as an individual business, you have a successful business, then they create the systems so that they can expand to a second, fifth, 10th location. But that's all on the franchisor side. They're building the system so that they can keep growing. And then they bring in people that are basically these owner operators that are responsible for the daily operations of the business. But what a lot of people don't necessarily realize in franchising is, although it really is a two-way relationship, you as a franchisee, it's your business to run. As much as the franchisor can give you best practices, marketing tips, hiring best practices, they can say, it's my business. I'm not doing that. It's my way. And that's why in every franchise, you're going to have top, middle, and bottom performers. How are people willing to follow that system? And then once they do follow that system, it's about that franchisee creating their own internal systems so that they can reach that second, third, fourth, 10th, 50th location for all we know. But it starts off with having that single location, having the systems, having the unit economics, having the employees in place, having everything there. So then you can go open up a second location and you already know how to replicate that. You're going to have your own employee handbook, your own operations handbook that those employees are now going to just bring over to that second unit. Now you're just creating your own systems internally within this bigger system.
Well said. And I can see why you're so popular.
Thank
I
you.
can see why people love working with you. You have such great insight, and it's really really phenomenal. And a lot of that is what we teach here at FranServe, and the way that we communicate with everyday average people, because you work with so many different types of backgrounds and various individuals from all over the world. But having that fundamental basic information that we teach and train here at FranServe that you have incorporated so well into your business is vital. And I
Mm,
love it. And so well said from a standpoint of systems. Let me ask you this. The other
mm,
part of your post was capital. And
mm.
in order to grow and maintain, leadership, which we talked about, and system excellence, in order to grow and maintain leadership and system excellence, you must have
Mm.
access to capital. Talk to us a little bit about how being undercapitalized can certainly hurt future success of franchising.
Yeah, and I would say this is one of the biggest reasons why there are failures in franchising is not having enough capital. So when you get a franchise disclosure, you're going to see that total investment range. But what's really important as you're going through this due diligence process is understanding the working capital required. So it's one thing to open your business, but that does not mean that people know about your business. Marketing is really the backbone of any business. So you need to, as you're going through this due diligence process as a potential franchise owner, speaking to as many franchise owners as possible and understanding even after that they made that initial investment, how much working capital did they need for those first 3 to 6 months, which are so critical to really ramp up the business so that people are finding out about the business. So I think it's really important to be capitalized when you're looking at a business and not necessarily just looking at the total investment range, but understanding what will be needed to require for that full first year of business. And also looking at what's your lifestyle look like? What does your family need? Is your daughter going to college next semester? What is all those expenses that you need? Because it's more than just a total investment range. And then I think the second piece, Don, when we look at kind of capital, a lot of times people are looking at the different ownership levels. Am I going to be an owner operator? Am I going to be doing the labor, working in the business? Or am I going to be more in an executive model where I'm more the CEO of the business, working on the marketing, the sales, the relationship, and then hiring people to actually do a lot of the operations of the business? But if you don't have the capital to hire a team, there's no one that's going to be able to do that work. And especially nowadays, employees have really high standards. So it's more important than ever to be capitalized to be able to employ these people. And I think the next step is when you want to add a second, third location, not only are you hiring employees, but now we're talking about hiring district managers, general managers. And when you want to hire a general manager, you're probably talking a salary of anywhere between 60 to 120,000 realistically if you want someone to be daily in your business, incentivized to also grow the business. So I think those are the different elements to consider when you're looking at these different participation modes in franchising. A lot of the most successful franchise owners start off as the owner operator, learn the business, then eventually they acquire the capital to hire people. But I think as a franchise owner, there's so many different ways to get started. So analyzing those different ways, analyzing the FDD, the investment range, and speaking to other franchise owners to understand, am I capitalized enough to survive the first couple of years of business?
Yeah, that's good. That's really good information. I look at it like if you're baking a cake, right? Cake,
Mm,
when you're eating dessert, dessert is supposed to be sweet,
yeah.
and it's supposed to be really tasty and sweet. When I look at the last ingredient here in
Mm,
your formula, I see this as like the sugar ingredient to the cake. Without the sugar, the cake tastes
mm,
awful. It tastes like cardboard, right? So the last ingredient here that you mentioned in your post was consistency.
mm,
Consistency, maintaining a certain level of consistency, Josh. It is a huge formula to a winning system, consistency.
mm.
Let's wrap up this conversation and talk to us a little bit about why you believe consistency is the winning formula in any franchise system.
Yeah, and I think this consistency goes hand in hand with the word systems, because to have a strong system, it needs to be consistent as you are replicating those different systems across your own internal system. So I think when it comes down to consistency, what I really am kind of going for is this idea of what I said earlier. Business ownership's a real roller coaster. There's ups and downs. Every single day is, a new challenge or a new opportunity, depending how you look at it. And understanding there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but understanding if you stick with it, you know, business ownership, the first year, the first 2 years, it's difficult. And that's why I like this word consistency and changing this word semi-active to really earned income. Because if you stay consistent for that first 2 years, there's a reason why every single person is a business owner, yet everyone looks at business owner and they really like the lifestyle element. It's that element of consistency. People face challenges along the way and, they want to just go back to their corporate position or, it's just too difficult. And reality is business ownership is not for everyone. But if you stay consistent for those first, 6 to 24 months, especially, that's where you start to reap all these benefits of achieving this semi-active lifestyle. So I think that's where everything comes together, having consistency in that business so that, like I said, you can go to another state, you can take your family on vacation. You don't necessarily need to worry about, is my business going to open today? Because you've already enacted your own leadership, you've enacted those systems, and people know you're capitalized. So you're going to be able to manage, motivate that team. So I think consistency is where everything comes together. And one of the toughest challenges as a business owner is because you face so many different things. But if you just have that right mindset, I think, and you stay consistent those first couple of years, there's really nothing that can stop you. I always kind of allude to this first couple of years. It's really the greatest journey of personal development ever. You find out so much about yourself. But once again, if you just stay consistent, I think you conquer that mindset like I have in my podcast. I think the world is yours and you can really conquer anything.
I think you're so right when you talk about mindset. It really is a mindset. Josh, you have a great information. You're just full of knowledge, and for that, I'm so thankful. Josh, if there are folks listening to us today are like, I really want to talk to that guy. Not only does he have the perfect hairdo, but I want to talk to him just because he has tons of knowledge on franchising. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Josh?
Yeah, Don, I appreciate the opportunity today. Sometimes I could talk forever on franchising, so hopefully I didn't bore anyone. But you can find me on social media anywhere, JD Strategic, any platform you can think of, you'll find me. My website's jdfranchising.com, and you'll find the links to all my social medias there. You can contact me through email, phone number directly there, and I look forward to potentially having a conversation with you.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much. My name is Don Clayton, and this is Changing Lives Webcast. And if you need to get in touch with me or if you'd like to learn more about becoming a franchise consultant, you can reach out to us at connect@franserve.com. Thanks again for joining me today, Josh. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, awesome, Don. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone has a great day as well.